You are going to give me that gas for free, or I will have the police drag you out of here." The pump clicked dead in Evelyn Whitmore's hand before the last word left her mouth. For one clean second, the entire station went quiet. Then the metal nozzle slammed against the side of her pearl-white Cadillac Escalade, sharp enough to make my sister look up from behind the register. The smell of raw gasoline floated across the concrete, mixing with hot rubber, burnt coffee, and the expensive floral perfume Evelyn wore, like a warning label. 3 red 5-gallon cans sat beside her rear tire. She had already filled 2 of them before I noticed the meter running under an account nobody at Brooks Fuel and Service had authorized. I stepped out from behind the counter and wiped my hands on a blue shop rag. "Put the nozzle back, ma'am." Evelyn turned slowly, her sunglasses reflecting the faded red letters above our service bay. She was 54, dressed in cream slacks and a navy blazer with the Sterling Pines HOA logo stitched over her heart. A gold badge-shaped pin below it read, "Community Safety Director," a position that existed nowhere outside her imagination. "Excuse me?" she said. "The fuel," I replied. "You need to pay for what you pumped." Her smile tightened. Behind her, the Escalade's engine idled with a low mechanical hum. Magnetic signs on both front doors read Sterling Pines, Security Patrol, even though the vehicle was registered in her personal name. "This is emergency community fuel," she said. "Local businesses are required to support our neighborhood safety program." I glanced at the pump display. $187.42. "No, they are not." The wind pushed a paper receipt across the pavement until it caught beneath my boot. Evelyn lifted the nozzle again and squeezed the handle. Nothing came out. I had shut down pump 4 from the control panel inside. The plastic trigger clicked uselessly beneath her manicured fingers. Click, click, click. Her knuckles turned white. "Turn it back on. Not until you pay." She pulled off her sunglasses. Her eyes were pale, cold, and completely certain that the world had made a clerical error by telling her no. "Do you know who I am?" "I know whose name is on the credit card you did not use." Sarah covered a cough behind the register. Evelyn heard it. Her face flushed beneath the morning sun. She reached into her designer purse, but instead of a wallet, she pulled out her phone. "Last chance." I looked past her toward the small black dome mounted under the service canopy. Camera 4. A green light blinked above the lens. "You should probably choose your next words carefully," I said. Evelyn mistook that for fear. People like her usually did. She tapped 3 numbers and raised the phone to her ear. Her voice changed the instant the dispatcher answered. It became thin, breathless, practiced. "There is an armed man at Brooks Fuel stealing emergency gasoline from the Sterling Pines HOA. He is threatening me, and I believe he may become dangerous." Sarah froze. I could hear the faint crackle of the dispatcher asking questions. Evelyn stared directly at me while she answered each one with another lie. Yes, she was trapped. Yes, I had blocked her vehicle. Yes, I had claimed the station belonged to me. No, she did not feel safe. The first siren reached us less than a minute later, distant but closing fast. Red and blue light flickered against the windows of the car wash across the street. Evelyn lowered her phone and smiled as if she had just signed my termination papers. "You should have given me the gas." I folded the oily rag once and placed it on the counter. What Evelyn did not know was that she had not called strangers. She had called my department, dispatched my patrol officers, and accused their police chief of armed robbery while standing beneath a camera that had recorded every word. 3 days before the sirens crossed the intersection, I was standing behind the same counter with a flashlight between my teeth and the back panel of pump 4 resting against my boot. Brooks Fuel and Service had been in my family since 1989, when my father, Raymond Brooks, bought a tired 2-pump station on the edge of Cedar Ridge and rebuilt it 1 rusted bolt at a time. By the time I was 12, I could change a fuel filter, balance a cash drawer, and tell the difference between an honest customer and someone looking for a free ride. Dad believed every business needed one rule simple enough to fit on a wall. His was painted on an old pine board above the register. "Pay for what you take." The letters had faded from black to gray, but the message had not changed. After he passed the previous winter, my sister Sarah took over the station full-time. I kept my office at city headquarters, but most Saturday mornings found me back there in worn jeans, a flannel shirt, and work boots darkened by oil. I did not come for nostalgia alone. Sarah had called me about missing fuel, not a dramatic amount at first. 12 gallons one week, 18 the next. Then 43 gallons disappeared under a handwritten account labeled HOA Patrol Authorized. Nobody on staff remembered creating it. Nobody could explain who had approved it. The station smelled like old coffee, tire rubber, and the faint chemical bite of gasoline that settled into the concrete after 35 years. Sarah stood beside the register with a red ledger open beneath the fluorescent lights. "Look at the dates," she said. Every entry landed on a Tuesday or Thursday morning. Every one came from Pump 4. Every one had been entered manually, without a credit card, signature, or license plate. I ran my thumb down the page. 37 transactions over 4 months. The total sat just above $3,000. "Who usually works those shifts?" I asked. Megan did before she quit. Then Carl on Thursdays. "What did they say?" Sarah hesitated. The receipt printer clicked behind her like a nervous metronome. "They said a woman from Sterling Pines told them the police department had approved free fuel for neighborhood patrol vehicles." I looked toward the front windows. Across the lot, Camera 4 watched the pump from under the canopy. Its small green indicator blinked steadily. Did she show them anything? A letter. City logo. Your name at the bottom. That changed the air in the room. I set the flashlight down and wiped the grease from my fingers. My official signature was not difficult to find. It appeared on public notices, department statements, and the annual safety report framed in the hallway at City Hall. Copying it would be easy. Using it to obtain fuel was something else. Sarah reached under the counter and handed me a wrinkled photocopy a former employee had saved. The city seal looked slightly stretched. The spacing was wrong. My title read Chief of Police Department, wording no official document would ever use. But the signature was mine, copied cleanly from somewhere public. I folded the page once and slipped it into my jacket pocket. My badge was locked inside the glove compartment of my pickup, out of sight. I wanted whoever was doing this to see only a tired man fixing an old gas pump, not the person whose name they had borrowed. Then Sarah pointed through the window. A pearl-white Cadillac Escalade rolled slowly into the lot, Sterling Pines Security Patrol signs shining on its doors. It stopped beside Pump 4. The driver never looked toward the price display. She looked straight at the station, smiled, and reached for the nozzle. The woman stepped out of the Escalade, as if the entire lot had been reserved for her. Cream slacks, navy blazer, gold pin shaped like a badge. She moved with the careful confidence of someone who had gone years without hearing the word no. Before Sarah or I could reach the door, she lifted the nozzle, selected premium, and began filling the tank. The meter climbed past $20, then $40, then $60. She never once looked toward the card reader. I walked outside and stopped beside the pump. "You need to authorize the sale." She glanced at me over the roof of the Escalade. "Charge it to Sterling Pines. There is no Sterling Pines account." Her smile did not disappear. It simply hardened. "There is now." She reached into the vehicle and produced a laminated card with the words Community Safety Fuel Access printed beneath the HOA logo. No bank name, no account number, no magnetic strip, just a piece of plastic designed to look important from 6 feet away. "Who approved this?" I asked. "Chief Brooks." She said my name with the casual certainty of someone discussing an employee she believed she controlled. "The police chief personally supports our neighborhood patrol program." Sarah shifted behind the counter. I could feel her watching me through the glass. "You know him?" I asked. "Very well." The pump clicked off at $78. The woman returned the nozzle, then opened the rear hatch and pulled out 2 empty red fuel cans. "He understands that private communities reduce the burden on city resources. We handle suspicious vehicles, noise complaints, parking enforcement, and resident compliance before problems reach his officers." None of that was true. Sterling Pines had no law enforcement authority. Its so-called patrol could observe and report, nothing more. But I kept my voice flat. "What is your name?" Her eyebrows rose as if I should already know. "Evelyn Whitmore, President of the Sterling Pines Homeowners Association and Director of Community Safety." She tapped the gold pin on her blazer. "You must be new. I help my sister here. Then learn how local partnerships work." She filled both cans, placed them upright in the cargo area, and drove away without offering a signature. The tires hissed across the damp pavement. Sarah came outside holding the red ledger against her chest. "That is her," she said. "She has been doing this for months." I watched the Escalade turn east toward Sterling Pines, its magnetic security signs catching the morning light. That afternoon, I drove through the neighborhood in my pickup. Evelyn was easy to find. She moved down the street at 10 miles per hour, stopping to photograph a trash can left near a garage and a basketball hoop positioned 2 feet too close to the curb. At one house, she stepped out with a ruler and measured the grass. At another, She placed a violation notice beneath a windshield wiper, while an elderly man watched from his porch. That evening, Sterling Pines held its monthly board meeting inside a clubhouse that smelled of lemon cleaner and burnt coffee. I sat in the last row wearing the same flannel shirt and work boots. Evelyn stood beneath a banner that read "Safety Through Standards" and announced a new mandatory business partnership program. Local stores, repair shops, and gas stations would provide free services to the HOA patrol. A resident asked whether the city had approved it. Evelyn smiled and placed both hands on the podium. "Chief Daniel Brooks supports everything we do," she said. "I speak with him regularly." I looked around the room. Half the residents appeared relieved. The other half looked too tired to challenge her. Evelyn never glanced at me. She had borrowed my name, invented my approval, and used both to turn intimidation into policy. I wrote one sentence in the small notebook on my knee. Let her keep talking. The next morning, Evelyn returned before sunrise with 2 black sport utility vehicles behind her and enough confidence to fill the lot before she touched a pump. The air was cold for early October, sharp with the smell of wet pavement and stale coffee drifting through the open service window. I was checking the calibration seal on pump 4 when her Escalade rolled beneath the canopy and stopped so close to the yellow curb that the front tire brushed it. Both vehicles behind her carried removable Sterling Pines Security Patrol signs. One belonged to an HOA board member. The other belonged to Evelyn's adult son. Neither was registered for public safety use. Evelyn stepped out holding a leather folder against her blazer. "We are expanding today," she said. 3 vehicles, full tanks, plus reserve fuel. Sarah stood behind the register with the red ledger open beside her. I could hear the soft scrape of her pen as she wrote down the time. "Payment first," I said. Evelyn gave me the patient smile people use when explaining simple things to someone they have already decided is beneath them. "I explained this yesterday. Sterling Pines has a municipal partnership." "Then show me the agreement." She opened the folder and removed a sheet of heavy white paper. The city seal sat at the top. My name appeared near the bottom in dark blue ink. Above the signature, the letter directed participating businesses to provide fuel, food, and basic vehicle maintenance to Sterling Pines patrol personnel without charge. The document also threatened permit review for businesses that failed to cooperate. I held it by the edges. The paper smelled fresh, almost sweet, like it had come out of a laser printer that morning. The seal was slightly wider than the official version. The address listed City Hall as 114 Main Street. We had moved to 410 Jefferson Avenue 6 years earlier. "Who gave you this?" I asked. "Chief Brooks." "In person?" "Through his office." "Which office?" Her smile flickered. "The police department." "Who delivered it?" "His administrative staff." "Name?" The 2 drivers behind her shifted near their vehicles. Evelyn looked past me toward Sarah, then back at my face. "I am not required to disclose private city communications to a gas station employee." Camera 4 blinked above us. I folded the letter once, then opened it again and studied the copied signature. It came from a public safety announcement I had signed after a winter storm. Even the small gap in the final letter matched. "How much fuel have you received under this agreement?" I asked. "That is confidential." "How many businesses are participating?" "Enough to understand civic responsibility." "And your personal Escalade is an emergency vehicle?" Her jaw tightened. "It serves community functions." I pointed toward the black vehicle parked behind her. "What about your son's sport utility vehicle?" "Family members support the patrol when needed." "Does the city reimburse you?" "The HOA handles all reimbursements." That answer mattered. I saw Sarah stop writing for half a second. Evelyn had just admitted there was money moving somewhere after businesses gave her services for free. I placed the letter on the counter inside the service window, beneath the camera. "You are not receiving another gallon without payment." Her perfume reached me before her voice did, floral and heavy against the gasoline fumes. "You have no idea what kind of trouble you are creating. I know exactly what is on that meter." She stepped closer and lowered her voice. "Businesses that cooperate stay in good standing. Businesses that do not get inspected. Permits get delayed. Complaints appear. Customers hear things. Is that a threat? It is community guidance." She turned toward the waiting vehicles and raised one hand. The drivers began removing red fuel cans from their cargo areas, 6 cans in all, 30 gallons before anyone touched a tank. "Turn on the pumps," Evelyn said. "No." The word landed harder than a shout because I did not raise my voice. Her face changed. The polished smile vanished, leaving something colder underneath. She pulled out her phone and held it where I could see the emergency call screen. "Then I will have the police explain your obligations." I looked at the forged letter, the open ledger, and the green light above camera 4. "Go ahead," I said. "Make the call." The first patrol car turned into the station less than 2 minutes later, its red and blue lights washing across the pumps, the windows, and the white side panels of Evelyn's Escalade. A second unit followed close behind. Tires hissed over the damp pavement. The radio chatter carried through the cold morning air in clipped bursts, calm and professional. Officer Maya Torres stepped out first, one hand near her radio, the other already reaching for the body camera mounted on her vest. Officer Lucas Reed came around the second car, looked at me once, and stopped for half a heartbeat. He knew exactly who I was. I gave him a small nod toward Evelyn. "Follow the call," he understood. "Sir, keep your hands where I can see them," Maya said. "Of course." I placed both palms flat on the counter beside the forged letter. The laminate felt cold beneath my fingers. Sarah stood several feet behind me, silent, with the red ledger still open. Evelyn moved quickly toward the officers, clutching her phone against her chest like evidence of an emergency only she had survived. "Thank goodness," she said. "He has been aggressive from the moment I arrived." Maya looked from Evelyn to me. "What happened?" "He shut off emergency fuel, trapped our patrol vehicles, and threatened us when I showed him the city authorization." Every word came smoother than the one before it. That was the dangerous thing about practiced liars. They did not sound nervous. They sounded prepared. "Did he display a weapon?" Maya asked. Evelyn paused. Camera 4 blinked above the canopy. Lucas watched her carefully. "He indicated that he had one," she said. "How? His posture, his tone, the way he reached toward his jacket." I had not reached toward my jacket once. My badge remained locked in the glove compartment of my pickup. I kept my hands exactly where Maya could see them. "Did he make a specific threat?" Evelyn glanced at the drivers standing beside the black sport utility vehicles. Neither man met her eyes. "He said he would stop us permanently." I said nothing. The gasoline odor still lingered around pump 4, sharp enough to sting the back of my throat. Somewhere inside the store, the coffee machine clicked off. Lucas stepped toward the service window and looked down at the letter. "May I see that document?" "Careful," Evelyn said. "That is official city property." Lucas lifted the page by one corner and read it without expression. His eyes moved over the stretched seal, the outdated address, and the copied signature. "Who issued this to you?" he asked. "Chief Brooks." "You received it from him personally?" "From his office. We work closely together." Lucas looked at me again. I kept my face still. Maya turned toward the camera mounted above us. "Does your surveillance system record audio?" "Yes," I said. "Pump 4 records the entire service lane." Evelyn's head snapped toward the black dome. "That camera cannot record private HOA business." "This is private commercial property," Sarah said quietly. "The signs are posted." Maya followed Sarah's gaze to a yellow notice attached to the canopy support. "Video and audio recording in use." Evelyn changed direction immediately. "Then he staged this. He knew we were coming." "Did you call ahead?" Maya asked. "No. Then how would he know?" Evelyn's mouth tightened. Lucas handed the letter to Maya and moved toward the 3 fuel cans beside the Escalade. "Who owns these vehicles?" he asked. "Sterling Pines. All 3? They are assigned to Community Patrol. The black one has a personal registration sticker, administrative technicality. And the white Escalade? That is mine, but I use it for official duties." Maya looked back at Evelyn. "How much fuel were you requesting?" "Whatever our patrol required. Without payment? Under the city agreement. Do you have invoices?" "The HOA handles reimbursement." That was the second time she admitted money changed hands after receiving free fuel. Maya wrote it down. Then she asked Evelyn to give a formal statement. I watched her sign each page without hesitation, turning exaggeration into documentation and confidence into evidence. Lucas finally faced me. "Sir, I need identification." I lifted my hands from the counter slowly. "It is in the glove compartment of the blue pickup." Evelyn smiled again, certain the moment had arrived. She folded her arms while Lucas walked beside me toward the truck. The sirens had stopped, but the lights kept turning. Red, blue, reflecting in the puddle beneath pump 4 like a warning she still did not understand. Lucas opened the passenger door of my pickup while I stood 3 feet away with both hands visible. The glove compartment clicked open, and the leather credential case slid forward against a stack of inspection receipts. He picked it up, looked at the gold shield inside, then looked at me. The cold morning seemed to pause around us. Even the low rumble of Evelyn's Escalade sounded farther away. Lucas closed the glove compartment and handed me the case with both hands. "Chief Brooks," he said. The words carried across the service lane. Maya stopped writing. Sarah lowered the red ledger. One of the Sterling Pines drivers stared at the pavement. Evelyn did not move at first. Her expression held for a second too long, like a photograph refusing to admit the scene had changed. Then she laughed once, sharp and uncertain. That is ridiculous. I opened the credential case and held it where Maya's body camera could see the badge, my photograph, and the words, Chief of Police, Cedar Ridge. My name is Daniel Brooks, I said. I own half of this station with my sister, and I serve as the police chief for this city. Evelyn's face lost its color beneath the canopy lights. Her eyes shifted toward Lucas, searching for some sign that this was a joke arranged for her embarrassment. He gave her none. You never identified yourself, she said. You never asked. This is entrapment. No, ma'am. You arrived without notice, presented a forged city document, requested unpaid fuel, and made a false emergency report. I did not instruct you to do any of those things. She pointed toward the patrol cars. Your officers are obviously protecting you. I closed the credential case. They followed the call exactly as they should. I turned to Lucas and Maya. From this point forward, I am removing myself from every investigative decision connected to this incident. Evelyn blinked. That was not the response she expected. She had prepared for anger, intimidation, perhaps an order from a powerful man defending his pride. Procedure left her with nothing to fight. I took out my phone and called Sheriff Helen Price. She answered on the second ring. Helen, I need county jurisdiction at Brooks Fuel and Service, possible forgery, false reporting, theft of services, and misuse of association funds. I am a witness and a potential victim, so your office needs to take control. Her voice came through calm and clear. Preserve everything. I am 10 minutes out. I ended the call and placed my phone on the counter. Evelyn stepped closer to Maya. I want to leave. You are not under arrest, Maya said, but the sheriff's office may need another statement. You should remain available. I already gave a statement. Yes, Maya replied. You signed it. For the first time that morning, Evelyn looked afraid of her own paperwork. I walked to the service window and unfolded the letter she had brought. Up close, the copied signature looked almost perfect. That was what made it worse. Someone had taken a real public document, lifted my name from it, and built a threat around it. I placed the forged letter beside the original winter safety announcement Sarah had pulled from the office wall. The small break in the final stroke matched exactly. You did not just lie about me, I said. You copied my signature and used it to obtain property from local businesses. Evelyn crossed her arms, but the movement had lost its authority. I was acting for the community. Then the community records will support you. A dark green county vehicle turned into the lot and stopped beside the patrol cars. Sheriff Helen Price stepped out wearing a gray uniform jacket and carrying a plain evidence case. She studied the pumps, the fuel cans, the forged letter, and Evelyn's white Escalade. Then she looked directly at Evelyn. Mrs. Whitmore, she said, how many businesses have you used that document at? The receipt printer inside the station began to chatter, feeding out a long white strip. Sarah lifted it from the tray. 37 fuel transactions, $3,000. Every line marked authorized. Evelyn stared at the paper as it unrolled across the counter, and for the first time since she arrived, she had nothing to say. Helen did not ask Evelyn another question until the county investigator arrived with a camera, evidence bags, and a laptop. By then, the morning sun had burned through the clouds, turning every stain on the concrete bright and visible. Gasoline shimmered in a thin rainbow beneath pump 4. The long receipt strip lay across the counter like a timeline Evelyn could no longer edit. 37 transactions, different dates, different vehicles, the same handwritten authorization code. Sarah placed the red ledger beside it, and Helen compared each entry one by one. This account was never approved by the station? She asked. Never, Sarah said. The employees were told the police chief had authorized it. Helen looked at me, then back at the copied signature. And you did not? No. Evelyn stood near the Escalade with her arms folded tightly. This is an accounting misunderstanding, she said. The HOA reimburses approved community expenses. Helen closed the ledger. Then we will review the reimbursements. That sentence changed everything. Evelyn's eyes moved toward the black sport utility vehicle belonging to her son. One of the drivers quietly stepped away from it and asked Maya if he could speak with her privately. Within 20 minutes, the county had voluntary statements from both drivers. Neither believed the vehicles were part of an official city program. Evelyn had told them to display the magnetic patrol signs during neighborhood events and fuel runs. One driver admitted he had used the vehicle mostly for errands and school pickups. The other said Evelyn required board members to submit gasoline receipts even when the station charged them nothing. Helen sent an investigator to the Sterling Pines clubhouse with a formal request to preserve financial records. Another deputy photographed every fuel can, every vehicle identification number, and every page of the forged letter. I stayed outside the process, exactly where I belonged. I answered questions as a witness, then moved behind the counter and made fresh coffee while the evidence grew around us. The burnt smell filled the station, familiar and steady. By noon, Thomas Keller arrived. He was 63, narrow-shouldered, gray-haired, and carrying a banker's box with both hands. Thomas served as the HOA treasurer. Sweat had darkened the collar of his button-down shirt even though the day was cool. He set the box on the counter and looked at Evelyn through the glass. "I cannot keep signing these," he said. Evelyn stepped forward. "Thomas, do not discuss private association business. It stopped being private when you used my name on reimbursement forms." Helen opened the box. Inside were fuel logs, printed bank statements, canceled checks, and envelopes labeled community safety. Thomas explained that Evelyn submitted monthly expense reports for gasoline supposedly purchased by HOA patrol vehicles. Each report included handwritten mileage totals and photocopied receipts. The HOA reimbursed her by check. The businesses listed on those receipts had also been told to provide the fuel free of charge. Evelyn had collected the fuel, then collected the money. Helen spread the documents across the counter. 37 transactions at our station matched 37 HOA reimbursements. The total was more than $8,000 because Evelyn had claimed higher prices, added service fees, and included mileage that never occurred. "These are clerical estimates," Evelyn said. Her voice had lost its polish. "Community work requires flexibility." Thomas reached deeper into the box and removed a folder marked vendor partnerships. Inside were letters sent to a diner, an auto repair shop, a car wash, and a hardware store. Each carried the same stretched city seal and the same copied signature. Free meals, free oil changes, free detailing, free tools. Every demand threatened inspections, permit delays, or police scrutiny. The diner owner had saved voice messages. The mechanic had security footage. The hardware store had invoices marked city approved. What began beneath one gas pump was spreading across Cedar Ridge in neat paper trails. Helen turned to Evelyn. "How many businesses did you pressure with these letters?" Evelyn looked at the documents, the cameras, and the people who had finally stopped being afraid of her. "I was protecting property values," she said. Helen placed the forged letters into an evidence bag. "No," she replied. "You were charging the community for things you took from everyone else." 2 nights later, Evelyn called an emergency meeting at the Sterling Pines clubhouse and invited every resident she believed would still defend her. She also invited a local reporter. That was her final mistake. The room smelled of floor polish, burnt coffee, and the artificial vanilla candles someone had placed along the windowsill. Folding chairs filled every aisle. Residents whispered beneath the fluorescent lights, while Evelyn stood at the podium in a white blazer, one hand resting on a stack of prepared statements. Her gold community safety pin still shone beneath her collar. "This association is under attack," she began. "Certain city officials are abusing their positions to punish volunteers who protect this neighborhood." I sat in the back row beside Sarah. I wore a dark suit, but no uniform. Sheriff Helen Price stood near the side wall with 2 county investigators. Thomas Keller occupied the front table with the banker's box between his hands. Evelyn pointed toward me. Chief Brooks staged a confrontation at his family business, concealed his identity, and manipulated his own officers to create a political spectacle. A few residents nodded. Most remained silent. Helen waited until Evelyn finished, then walked to the center aisle. "Mrs. Whitmore, did you provide the reporter with copies of the documents you claim authorized the fuel program?" "Of course," Evelyn said. "Transparency matters." Helen looked toward the reporter. "Good. Then everyone can compare them with the originals." An investigator connected a laptop to the clubhouse projector. The first image appeared on the wall behind Evelyn. Camera 4 showed her beside pump 4, ordering free gasoline and presenting the forged letter. Her voice filled the room, clear and confident. "Chief Brooks personally supports our neighborhood patrol program." Evelyn turned toward the screen. "That recording lacks context." The next video came from Maya's body camera. It showed Evelyn reporting that I had threatened her, displayed a weapon, and blocked her vehicle. Then it showed the station footage from the same minutes. My hands remained visible. I never approached her vehicle. I never made a threat. The room grew so quiet that I could hear the projector fan. Helen displayed the forged city letter beside the winter safety announcement containing my real signature. The copied lines matched perfectly, including the small break in the final stroke. Then came the financial records. 37 free fuel transactions, 37 reimbursement requests, inflated prices, added service charges, mileage for trips that never happened. Thomas stood slowly. His chair scraped across the tile. I signed those checks because Mrs. Whitmore told me the city required confidentiality, he said. When I asked for original receipts, she threatened to remove me as treasurer and accuse me of mishandling funds. Evelyn gripped the podium. Thomas is confused. Helen clicked to the next slide. Emails appeared. In one, Evelyn instructed Thomas to classify free fuel as emergency transportation expenses. In another, she told board members to destroy old patrol logs after reimbursement. A third listed the diner, repair shop, car wash, and hardware store as cooperative vendors. The reporter's pen moved faster across her notebook. Residents began reading the projected totals aloud. $8,000 in fuel reimbursements. More than $22,000 across all vendors. One man in the second row stood and asked why his annual dues had increased to fund community safety when Evelyn had obtained most services for free. A woman near the aisle asked why her violation fines had been used to reimburse Evelyn's personal Escalade. Another resident removed a magnetic patrol sign from beneath his chair and placed it on the floor. Evelyn looked toward the exit. A county investigator stepped into the aisle, not blocking her, only holding a folder. Mrs. Whitmore, we have a warrant for the association financial records and your issued electronic devices. You will also receive formal notice regarding the charges under review. The gold pin on her blazer caught the projector light one last time. She removed it slowly and set it on the podium. The small metallic click carried through the entire room, softer than the fuel pump shutting off, but this time, everyone understood what it meant. 6 months later, the white Escalade was gone from Sterling Pines. So were the magnetic patrol signs, the fake badge pins, and the locked file cabinet Evelyn once kept behind the clubhouse podium. The county investigation ended with a signed plea agreement. She admitted to falsifying business authorization letters, submitting fraudulent reimbursement claims, misusing association funds, and filing a false emergency report. The court ordered her to repay every dollar she had taken, including money collected from residents through inflated safety assessments. She also had to reimburse the diner, the repair shop, the car wash, the hardware store, and Brooks Fuel and Service for every product or service obtained through deception. The total was large enough to force the sale of her Escalade and the resignation of 2 board members who had approved expenses without reading them. No dramatic speech followed. No crowd gathered outside the courthouse. Justice arrived through signed pages, numbered exhibits, canceled checks, and a judge reading each condition into the record. Sterling Pines elected a temporary board with Thomas Keller as president. His first rule required 2 signatures on every payment. His second required monthly financial statements to be posted online for every resident to see. The so-called security patrol was dissolved. Residents voted to replace it with a neighborhood watch that had no uniforms, no authority, and no access to association money. People simply reported concerns and let trained officers handle the rest. At the station, Sarah installed a new point-of-sale system that blocked all manual fuel accounts without a verified business contract. Camera 4 stayed exactly where it had always been, its small green light blinking above the service lane. We kept the red ledger in a locked drawer, not because we needed it anymore, but because it reminded us how small numbers can reveal large lies when someone takes the time to follow them. On a clear Saturday morning, I climbed a short ladder behind the counter and removed my father's old wooden sign. Years of dust had settled into the grain. The paint had faded, and one corner had split near the nail. I carried it into the service bay, sanded the rough edge, and brushed away the gray film with a clean shop rag. Sarah watched from the doorway while the smell of coffee mixed with motor oil and fresh-cut wood. I did not repaint the words. I wanted every scratch to stay visible. Pay for what you take. When I hung it back above the register, the morning light caught the letters and made them look darker than before. Thomas stopped by later with a check covering the final amount owed to the station. He placed it on the counter, then looked up at the sign. "Your father had it figured out," he said. He usually did. Outside, a customer finished pumping 12 gallons, replaced the nozzle, and came inside to pay. The printer clicked, producing a clean receipt. Nothing missing. Nothing hidden. Just a simple exchange between people who respected the same rule. Evelyn had believed authority meant knowing which name to use, which seal to copy, and which people could be frightened into silence. She learned that real authority did not need a gold pin or a loud voice. It needed evidence, patience, and the discipline to let the truth finish the job. She came for free gasoline because she thought power meant taking whatever she wanted. She left owing an entire town because real power keeps receipts.